Hi! Okay, so for my video project, I decided to do my video with my dad because my dad just turned 50 this year, and I feel like that's really old because it's halfway there. That's sad. Okay, so my first question was the first one that you gave us, which was, is convergence forcing us to change the way we interact in physical, social, and business settings? And my dad didn't even hesitate and was like, yes. And his reasoning was because in physical settings, it changes the way that we interact because people are always checking their phone when you're having a conversation. And when it comes to driving or doing anything like that, or even if you're just like paying for something online, like you're always on your phone, whether you're talking on the phone or this or that, like it's pretty much always like in your environment. And also nowadays, it's like no matter where you go, they have some high-tech thing. Like you go to a frozen yogurt place down by me in Central Jersey, and like there are iPads sitting there for you to do your work, like to play around with. For social settings, he said yes because it's like you really don't go out places anymore unless like there is something like that, unless like you get Wi-Fi, and you're not going to go out unless like you're not going to watch TV unless it's on like a big screen, plasma screen. And in business settings, it says that he said that's definitely where it changed it because he is a businessman himself and he works with the foreign exchange and everything, so he deals with it all over the world. And like technology in China and Australia and places like that is a lot different than here too, so there's even more technological advances. And like his business is like his computer screens are like three screens in a row that you have to try to connect the things to. So that's really in his world when it comes to the business world. What opportunities and options can convergence bring to consumers like yourself? And that goes back, he said, just like with his work, because it gives him a lot more ways to communicate with people with the Bloomberg thing that they have made now and everything. He can do work at any time of the day. He has an iPhone, so it's like he could do his emails and everything. And with TV, like he'll be at work and like there might be a big game, or like when he wants to tape the US Open because he's into tennis, he was saying how like when he wants to tape it, because those things are 4 hours long, he sometimes doesn't have time in the day to just sit down for 4 hours and watch a tennis match. So it comes in handy with that for DVR. What challenges does coverage bring to content producers and providers? The challenges that it brings to them is because like they always have to up it, because he says that at first it was the iPhone, and then it was the iPhone, the next iPhone, and then they came out with it in white. And there was the iPhone 4, and then there was the 3G before that, and now they're coming out with an iPhone 5. And then Droid has to up the iPhone, and then AT&T has to up what Verizon had. But Verizon had to take the iPhone from AT&T to up their services. Like, everything is all about connections. And then when it comes to, like, computers, like, Macs are, like, way more high-tech, and he only does Macs. Like, he won't even do, like, I have an HP, and he thinks it's, like, the crappiest thing in the world. And it's, like, with computers, like, you have a webcam that's a certain megapixel, but no, the other one's better. And, like, cameras, like, back that they were like the little Snapchat, like the little like snapper ones that like you develop the film, and now like everyone has their own digital cameras. And then they have the also they have the big ones that like you could zoom in, like the really fancy ones and everything. And like he told me he was trying to work with one of his friends one day to take a picture of him and his son like at a family function, and he couldn't even do it. Like he had to give the phone to like the kid's like niece. So those are things. And I was asking my dad like if he wishes he would rather live back in the time if things stayed like that back in the 60s, and he grew up in New York, or if he would rather have the technology he has now when he was a kid. And he said definitely, without a doubt, the technology now is better for him because he's an adult, and like keeping in touch with his kids and like with work and everything, it's more convenient. But he wouldn't by any means go back and change the way things were there, because back in New York, like it was effective and it was fine and easy to make plans to meet at the park down the street. And his brothers were his friends who had connections with his other friends and this and that. So, like, they were all a group and they were all community and all neighborhood. And to this day, they all still keep in touch because back then they were so close and they really did everything together. And it's like everyone knew each other's family and everyone was friends with everyone. And, like, you knew everyone on the block and you knew, like, what was going on and this and that and everything. And, like, it just caused a closeness that all through kindergarten, schooling, all the way till when people went off to college or moved away and had jobs and everything like that. Like, this was their family. Like, they didn't just have friendships, they had like a family bond, because in the city life was easier that way, and you were forced to talk face to face. He said the only downside was like reaching out to a family who was like long distance and everything like that. It was like you had one phone with one line, the home phone, that you could only be there when you were home, and if you weren't, your parents couldn't call you and be like, oh, by the way, blah blah blah. And like he said, another thing he liked was he had a lot of freedom, because his parents couldn't always be texting and calling him like, where are you, what are you doing, catch up. It was kind of like, bye, I'm going out, I'll see you at this time, be home for dinner, okay, cool. Like, that was as simple as it was. And pretty much like he says on his side is life without all this technology is easier now. But at the same time, things were simpler back then, because you don't have to worry about being harassed. You don't have to worry about predators or anything like that. You don't have to worry about your phone getting hacked or it dying. And then when you don't text somebody, then there's like a big worry, and then drama gets out with computers and Facebook and Twitter and everything that the technology they have now, and then accidentally like butt dialing somebody and talking about them at the same time, like, just gets awkward. And then it just gets all that drama rid of, and he doesn't have to hear from people who he doesn't want to talk to. You talk to whoever you want to hear from, and that's it. And like, he liked that, and honestly, I agree. I wish I had that too. But so I asked my dad, and that's his way of it, and I completely agree. And I'm pretty sure anyone who lived in that time, probably like in New York and everything, had it really easy. If you lived somewhere in the country, like, it would probably be a lot harder. But my dad was really like lucky to live there, and that's what he thinks too, because your houses were touching. You lived blocks from each other, and everyone walked in the city. It wasn't weird, and you saved a lot of money. Okay.